public hearing we'll open the public hearing on the budget. And everybody got a copy that wanted a copy, I presume. And so I guess we'll open it up to the floor.
Are there
Yes,
any
Bill?
changes from the preliminary budget?
The only change, we have a definite number on the fire district now. That's the only thing that's different. The amount to be raised by taxes for the Franklin Treadwell Fire District is $205,586.41, which represents an increase of $794.97 from last year, basically 0.39%.
Yes.
Would you like to say something?
I'm Patricia Coyle,
I'm Wendy Barkow.
and we're both the directors at the Franklin Free Library. Thank you for letting us speak. We urge you to restore the proposed cuts to the library. We are much more than a place to check out books and magazines. The Franklin Free Library serves as a vital community center for the town and village. We offer Wi-Fi, computers, fax machines, and copiers. We also offer various kinds of programs, including a growing and long-lasting book club, game nights, and movies. This summer, we had record attendance at our summer reading program. This is vital to the students in our community because studies have shown that children lose reading and math skills over the summer months if they do not use them.
The proposed cuts are coming at a time when our library is growing. We currently have 416 registered patrons. However, since January, we have registered 58 new patrons, 25 of them children. And it needs to be a place where there needs to be a place for children to come where we can encourage reading. And this summer, we also did math programs. Besides giving incentives for reading, we gave incentives for doing math as well. We have a petition with us with 105 names asking you to restore the proposed budget cuts. These are residents of Franklin and Treadwell who use our library and love our library. And just before you make any final decision, we invite you to come and visit the library and see all the new things that are going on there.
Now, I heard through the grapevine that the petitions were outside the school.
No.
Nobody had petitions outside the school to be signed,
As far as
That
I'm
you're aware
aware,
of?
they were in the library.
because there was somebody who made the remark that Jeff Taggart wanted to close the free library. I don't know I don't know who said it, but that was a remark that I was told. Now, I would hope it wasn't said. I don't know. You know how rumors can fly.
Yes, you do.
But this is what I had heard, and that's all I'm going by. And I'm not, this is not, the issue I have is, did you get any funding through the school budget?
Some, I think, I believe, yes.
Well, it was never voted on at the school budget, which I couldn't understand.
That
Usually if
would
you're,
be an increase, I think. That's why there was never an increase voted on, I believe.
It's only when there's an increase that they
only when
vote.
there is an
It's an
increase.
When, then it becomes a line item and it is voted on separately if we ask for an increase. That's the only time they vote on it. Otherwise, we get a certain amount. If we
You get
want more,
what you asked for the
we
previous.
have to
year.
ask more, go through the whole process if we want to ask for more.
Okay.
And also,
So-
many of our patrons do not attend the Franklin School. The people in Treadwell are districted for Delhi.
Right,
Here's
but
the
that's,
petitions.
that's not, my point was, it wasn't on the ballot, which I noticed that, thank you very much. And I was just wondering why, if you still got funding out of this school budget, because I hadn't heard that you had or you had not, but I know it wasn't on the ballot, which surprised me, because it is taxpayers' money. And whether it's increased or not, you would think it should still be voted on. But I guess the rules don't require it, I don't know.
No, it's just a line item, it's only if there's an increase requested, then it becomes a separate item to be voted on, whether they want to increase it or not.
I mean, that was another thing that's, you know, was been thought about when the budget was looked at, is because you weren't asking for any money through the school budget, which is your channel of financing, of one of your channels.
Right.
And there was nothing asked for, so I didn't know what kind of financial shape the free library was in. I know at the county level, they do, at least through the extension, the county does fund extension, a certain amount, quite a bit actually. But, it was that, you know, they like to see what the financial statement is, see, you know, the finance committee in the county did not give an increase to the cooperative extension because they felt they were asking for 5,000 increase. And it was denied through the finance committee because we felt they had assets enough that, you know, the 5,000 could be made up through their, you know, assets or investments or whatever. So, I mean, you know, we'll take into account, I know at the county board meeting today, I found out the Historical Society in Delhi, which we donate or fund $1,200 a year to. And I got a letter today saying they'd like $500 or more, so we could possibly, you know, look at you know, swapping some money there. But, you know, okay, now that I ran my mouth, somebody else please.
How much do you get from the school? How much do you get from the school?
Right now, 37,000. And if we, again, if we need more,
That's when you increase.
then we would send a letter, you know, whatever the rules are, you gotta let them know so far ahead if you want an increase.
Right.
Follow all the, you know, the rules and regulations, and then they vote on it when they vote on the school budget.
Right.
That's a separate line item, so if anybody objects to it, and they never have, because we try to keep it to the bare minimum of what we ask for, and we try not to ask every year. We try to, every way, which way we can. I mean, we squeeze every penny we can at the library. We do not waste money at all. I mean, there's no money to be wasted. So every cent counts that we get, every penny counts. So $500 is a lot of money to us.
Mhm.
It may not be to other places, but it is to the library. That means a lot of money. That money is appreciated, and we, like I said, we can account for every cent.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes.
I'm Mary Ellen Collier, and I also have a statement about the library, so if you, I'm a little nervous, I wrote my thoughts down. I'd like to address the board. I'm a member of the Franklin Free Library Board, and I've been working with the construction grant committee at the library, so I'd like to talk about that for a minute. We're currently launching a rehabilitation project to improve physical access to the building for people who have difficulty with mobility, our elderly who can't climb all those stairs easily, and those who rely on walkers and scooters or wheelchairs to get around. The project will create a new entryway to the library at the basement level. There will be a new walkway cut into the library across the west side of the lawn into a new entry level on the west side. Once inside the library, patrons will be able to use a personal lift elevator to access the main floor for the collections and programs. Additionally, the project will expand the current bathroom in the library to accommodate wheelchairs and install fixtures that individuals with disabilities can use independently. An area at the current basement level will be finished to be a meeting room, a reading room. Our project has an estimated price tag of about $160,000. We've applied for a grant from New York State Library Construction Program that we've been green-lighted. We've passed the review committee of the Fort County Library System, and it's going on to the state. That grant will cover about 70% of the project cost, but it is our responsibility as a library to provide matching 30% of the funding for the project. A free public library is an asset to any village or town, and I'd like to let you know that your library is working hard to improve access and availability to all residents. We have a tremendous collection of historic documents that's a treasure for every citizen in this community. And we offer programs for families and children that are always free. So I'd like to ask you personally to please consider restoring the proposed budget cut. It's the town's investment in a strong community, and at this time, it's very much needed to help us expand the service and access to the library for town residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Do you have any more? Anybody else like to?
Yeah, if I could, Jeff.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you Jesse a question. What, you said you were a friend of the organization, sounds like you're doing a good job. What, as far as your meetings, do you have any, political meetings there outside of maybe meet the candidates or debates? No groups with a political agenda?
No. The only group that meets regularly at the library is the book club.
What about the French?
Game night.
That's not a meeting.
What about the Franklin newspaper? Is that still a, maybe would be like
No,
No.
it receives no funding, no library people work on it.
how many computers do you have?
3 stations and one at the librarian's desk.
You know, access to the internet?
Yes.
That's been something that's been there for quite a few years? Does that tend to be the norm for libraries, or?
Yes.
Some of them have even more.
It's been expressed to me by someone in your group that the main reason, or one of the reasons for the computers was to allow access to the internet for downstairs or weekenders. Do you find they use it a lot more than the local?
No. Find locals use it a lot.
No.
They use the Wi-Fi, they sit outside in your car, or sit on the benches outside to use the Wi-Fi, the weekenders, yeah, because at first I used to wonder why those people sitting in the car, why aren't they coming in?
Yeah.
And they can do it from outside, you know, they don't have to come in.
Well, I look up in the dictionary, the definition of library. Has their input. A library is a place which literary and artistic materials such as books, newspapers, and tapes are kept for reading, references, or lending. Doesn't really cover computers, but I know
Sir,
that.
what year was that definition written? What year was your dictionary written?
I didn't check that. It might be outdated.
Well, they refer to tapes, so we moved on to CDs,
Oh, well,
so that
maybe they
MP3
did
is,
not think that definition
maybe.
was clear like it.
But we feel like a rural library like this, if the computers are, I don't know of a library that doesn't have a computer for it, especially because you need to use it to look up books.
Yeah,
They don't have
oh, I don't have a
to-
problem with having a, computer. What I would have a problem with is if they were used for communications through political agendas.
Absolutely not,
No.
absolutely not.
How do you check that? I mean,
Well, we don't restrict what patrons can do on the computers, but we don't promote or organize or, proselytize any politics at all.
so you really have no way of telling what you do.
Only what we observe, they're all in an open area, we can observe over people's shoulders, but
There are sites that are blocked, that they can't
we,
get on, so
where we have an internet computer
You can't look
policy
up
that.
on,
that
No,
is
sir.
blocked,
No, sir.
that is totally blocked.
No, sir.
does the school, the students use your library at all? Or
Some of it,
any,
yeah.
somewhat, I mean,
They come for
individually, or,
trips.
but it's nothing sanctioned by the school? Like, you mean the school doesn't bring the class down?
Yeah, they have,
Oh, they have?
they have their classes
Yeah.
and for trips.
The 4th grade it teaches local history in their curriculum, so it's traditionally the 4th grade teacher has brought the 4th grade students to the library and introduced them to the library as a community asset. But as far as I know, those are the only.
No, we had kindergarten last year,
in
they
the
came. They're renewing, I guess, relations with the school. They were
Yes.
very helpful to us for the book sale that we had. They helped carry with tons of books at the end.
Folks here, right?
Yes. Thank you again. We spoke to the superintendent about having a club in the library, a school club for the students in the library. And we are looking to strengthen our ties with the school.
That's all I have.
Any other,
Well, I've got a
Questions?
question, but it has nothing to do with the library, so.
Okay.
if there-
well, is there anything Don you got for the library?
Well, yeah, just,
Okay.
they mentioned like the Wi-Fi. Franklin is on the direct pipeline between the metropolitan area and the two major colleges in Oleana, as well as a lot of people, Roscoe and up through, I mean, that's where a lot of these people come. We know that when you leave Walton, and even before you get to Walton, a lot of places there's no cell phones, no service. A lot of these people, particularly the young people coming through, they can't live without their smartphones, internet access. So Wi-Fi at the library is one of the main things for tourism, people passing through. You're looking for a restaurant, you're looking for anything else, what do? You go on Yelp or some stupid thing. I don't have a smartphone, I'm not that smart. And you know, so I think like from that standpoint, the library does serve quite a bit to encourage commerce in our area and tourism coming through. It's a spot where you can stop and find out what's here.
Right, but
So that's a very important part of the library too, that's what I mean.
okay.
Tax, I just want to add on to what Don is saying. I know during tax season, everybody comes in to use our copier, to use our faxes. People, it's very important for the community to have a fax machine. People come in to fax their resumes when they're applying for jobs.
You charge for
No, oh, for a fax, yeah.
that? For
For a
so
fax.
much a sheet?
Yeah, but it's very cheap. And I forgot my line of thought now. But anyhow, it is,
Right.
people in the community do come in and use it to get jobs, to do their taxes, forget tax season. You know.
Okay. Anybody else on the library subject? Okay, I guess, ready for another one?
Okay.
You got something else?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're on a different part of the budget.
Yep.
On the budget summary, I'm looking at the spending is paid for by 3 different streams of income. Most of it comes from the property taxes. Then there's the assorted revenues. And the third one, the smallest one, is the unexpended balance. And I was looking at that, and I don't really understand how that works.
Paul.
How the unexpended balance works?
Yeah,
It's basically an estimate of what we believe is gonna be left in the accounts at the end of the year.
so in a
And we
couple
will
months.
apply that towards the
Mhm.
next budget year.
Our fiscal year is January 1 to
Right.
December 31st, so.
But there's an awful lot of money in there. There's 233,000, that's 14% of the budget? That's a lot of, I mean, when I think of unexpended balance, I think of sort of the loose change in the cash draw as we
Well, you've got-
close out the accounts.
You've got 2 months of possible snow removal and stuff, which can be very expensive. That's where, you know, that's where the huge amount of the money is coming from, right, Paul?
Yeah,
That
that
fund.
money may or may not be there. It's an estimate of what will be there. The other thing you have to bear in mind is not too many municipalities work on a cash basis. The town of Franklin doesn't have loans. We don't have any debt. And the only debt we ever had was during the flood in recent years, and that was forced upon us. But in order not to have debt, sometimes you have to have a little bit of cash, and that's basically this unexpended balance.
So is this, yeah, I know, I was looking actually back at the unexpected balance for the last decade, and it stays remarkably the same. Is it really more of a reserve fund than an unexpended
No,
balance?
these are all different accounts. These are all different No, it's not a reserve fund, not at all.
If you,
No,
Brian, if you take the 150 out for the DB account, that 233 drops to 80 some, which really is on a $1.3 million budget. You know, you're talking less than 10%. You know, 7 or 8%, right? Or am I close? I'm just for a round figure. So I mean, you know, we could have snow from tomorrow till December 31st, and 150,000 could be gone.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
maybe more, so that's why, you know, coming from where Paul's coming from, you know, we've gotta have half of our last spring, last winter, from January on, was very mild, very easy. So we didn't spend the money in that account as much as we normally would. So that's why this account is a little more plentiful right now. So it's, you know, I guess what is a safe amount to carry over, I'm not sure what it is. You know, if we have a truck motor blow up, then all of a sudden we gotta find, you know, $20,000 for a motor.
Yeah,
Or
but again,
something.
if you're carrying it over, that sounds like a reserve fund.
That's if you're carrying it over. This is, I guess, I don't know, whatever, I don't call it a reserve fund. It's, you know,
it's not a
It's an
reserve fund
estimate.
because it's allocated to be used to pay all these line items throughout the budget. This money, this unexpended balance is used for each line item. And at the end of the year, it hasn't been spent, but it's not like it was lined up. I mean, maybe if you wanna call every line item having a reserve fund, but no, it's not a separate reserve fund, it's not.
Yeah, because, well, looking back the last decade, it's always there in the budget. It's always about $250,000.
Well, I'd rather have a
Carol.
reserve fund than a debt we couldn't pay.
No, no, I'm not arguing that there shouldn't be, it just doesn't look like unexpended balance, it looks like a reserve
Round and
fund.
round here. Let's go.
I'm just trying to clear this up.
It's not,
It's not?
it's not.
Well,
So then, at the end of December then, as you go into January, that's when you start the books over. The year can be closed out, you start the next year.
Yes.
and also
so you're
we
not
do have
using
a
this
balance
$250,000
carryover, just how
next
much.
year?
Yes,
You
we
are.
will.
Okay. Well, you know, maybe,
Unless it's used up plowing snow in the meantime.
Yeah, could be.
Well, 2 years ago, was it used up? We had a terrible snow from November and December, so that's a year where you really needed it. Last year,
Right.
there wasn't much in November
Well,
and
that's
December.
it, you know.
So,
I
yeah.
mean, that's what, I mean, there's that 150,000, I believe there, right, Paul?
yeah, the highway DB is 150.
And so that's, we got 2 months of payroll and road clearing or whatever, you know, whether, you know, whatever we're doing. And this, you know, I guess one person would call it a rollover or a, you know, an unexpended balance or whatever, you know, but it's just gives the town a cushion, possibly.
Brian, you ever ran a business? Have you ever ran a business?
I've been responsible for money, yes. and
Have you ever ran a business?
Not.
You mean the president of the chamber?
Mhm.
It's not uncommon anymore to have an operator's loan, 100,000, whatever.
Line of credit.
At the end of the year,
That's-
you hope to not have had to dip into that. But if you do, you basically roll that over and you paid the interest on it for a year, so that way if something happened, you had it there.
Yeah,
You understand that?
yes, I do.
It's very similar to that, other than the town does not choose to take out, well, we don't really go into debt. So by keeping this, it makes it available so that we have the funds available, God forbid something bad happens. The flood far exceeded what we were able to cover, so we had to go into debt.
Right.
So it's very similar that if you ran a business, you would understand that you need that money, God forbid during the year if something happens, to be able to cover something unfortunate that happened.
I'm not arguing to get rid of it, I'm just trying to understand it.
And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to explain to you, it's no different than an operator's loan as someone that owns and operates a business.
And
It's the same basic setup.
It's like self-insuring, you're just making sure it's.
Right.
It's available to you to make sure that your
There is
business
a
continues to roll the
sort of-
next day.
fun. And
It's not a slush fund or anything
no,
like
I'm not
that.
talking about, it's all assigned to the different budgets, it's not, each budget department has its own account within that, it's not. And I don't know, I could maybe understand a little better if I could see the town's annual financial reports. I went over to Dawn's to ask if I could see them, and they weren't there. And I contacted the state, and they did in fact find one for me, and it was 2008 is the most recent annual financial report that the town has filed.
We were audited in 2014, and
Yeah.
they have the report from that. And they had no issues whatsoever with any of the unexpended balance or anything like that. There's no reserve
they-
fund.
Well, they had a couple of small things, but they did ding you for not filing the required
Yes.
annual financial reports.
That's correct.
And you're still not filing annual financial reports.
It's not in yet.
Because
It
as
will
I
be.
said, I talked to them, and the most recent one they have is 2008. And if I want to take.
Are you concerned that there's money missing?
Oh, no, I don't see, in fact, it looks like there's more money than I can completely understand is in there. I'd just like to see the town's financial report card for the year, and they don't exist. The town is required by law to file their annual financial report, and they haven't since 2008.
And who did the audit, Paul? That's a state
The
level?
state
or
did the
Controller's
Controllers, okay.
And when that audit was done, you agreed to start filing the annual financial reports.
It will be done, Brian. This is a public hearing about the budget,
Yeah, I'm trying to understand.
so let's
the
try and
financial
stay
budget.
on track. And actually, we're not supposed to be talking at all during a public hearing. The public does the talking. So, about the budget.
Okay, do we have any more questions? Well, we have a motion to close the public hearing. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay. Thank you. Okay. I guess we'll have minutes from the previous meeting. Minutes done there.